All right, all right, all right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm James Oliver Jr., co-founder and CEO of Kabila, an inclusive co-founder matching app and global community of badass founders. So look, we got another episode of Kabila Conversations where we help founders, especially overlooked founders, level up, get access to resources, capital, all the things they need to be successful. And today I'm super excited because we have a good friend, Dalton Van Hatchet from Hatchet Ventures. He's going to talk to us about Hatchet Advisors, Hatchet Ventures. I call them Hatchet Advisors, but it's Hatchet Ventures, and he's a CEO. Hatchet Ventures is an advisory consortium of successful operators, entrepreneurs, and advisors. Without further ado, I'm going to bring him up. What up, baby?
What's up, James? How's it going?
Going well, my friends. It's so good to see you. So everybody out there listening, in the sound of my voice, if you could drop a comment and let us know where you're coming in from, would love that. And feel free to drop your questions in the comments, and we will do our best to get to all the questions. Get your questions answered. And Dalton, I think you can actually on the right side there. If you look at the comments, I think you're able to actually drop some stuff in there too. So Hatchet Ventures again is an advisory consortium, and I wanted to bring Dalton up because Hatchet focuses. Well, you know what? I'm just going to let you answer the questions, right? So why don't you just tell everybody, Dalton, what Hatchet Ventures is and why you started it?
Yes, and I couldn't be more. Thanks, James. I couldn't be more excited to be here today. Love what Kabila's doing. I think that having resources for often overlooked and underestimated founders is so vital, especially in today's world. It's tough raising capital. A lot of people are, with the layoffs that are out there, a lot of people are starting businesses, but really like getting resources and having an understanding and having people that you can go to, turn to, communities where you can learn about how to build a business is so vital to the ecosystem right now. So love what you guys are doing, what you and Caleb have built. Yeah, I can talk a little bit about Hatchet. I kind of started my career as an operator. So I was working at startups right out of the get-go. I was actually an SDR. This is back in 2007. Worked my way up to becoming an executive, a CRO. I've been a chief customer officer, chief marketing officer, various different points. But really, one of the things that kind of opened my eyes is I started helping my friends who are building companies as an advisor, because I had a lot of connections in the VC space and in the venture capital and investor space. So really helping them through that process and journey of like, what does it mean to become investable? How do you build a business? How do you kind of take something from zero to, 50 million? And then what's the next phase after that? One of the things that happened was I got connected with a really amazing founder named Kendrick Trotter, and we started building a company called Us in Technology, which is also part of the Hatchet portfolio. When we were building Us in Technology, it really opened our eyes to what does it mean to be a founder, and just encountering new challenges on a daily basis was something that we lived through for the first couple years. And so when we went out to raise capital and started that process of talking to investors, talking to VCs, really opened our eyes. Kendrick's African-American. Us in Tech is a platform to help underrepresented folks get into the tech space. One little tidbit about me is I have Black family members on both sides of my family. So DEI is something that's really meaningful to me and my family. And so Kendrick and I were helping more underrepresented folks get into the tech space. But one of the observations we had is there's a lot of bias and challenges that go into who gets, who's in the equation when it comes to raising money. And so that going through that process and journey and going through kind of the trials and tribulations of fundraising really opened our eyes to this bigger challenge, which is, what you and I kind of defined as overlooked founders. And so our definition at underrepresented in the tech space at Us in Tech was, Black, Indigenous, people of color, female founders, LGBTQI+, military vets, anyone with disabilities, and first-gen college grads. which is very similar to the definition we have of, at Hatchet, on helping those founders really get operational help and help around an ecosystem that's going to help them build a more sustainable business. So that's kind of the idea behind Hatchet and why we're doing it. If we can help founders really, get access to, much needed operators, much needed expertise when it comes to operational, building out your business in a more sustainable way, we know that those founders will go back to the communities that they, that they came from and invest in those communities. So that's kind of the mission behind Hatchet and why we're doing this.
Okay, cool. Everybody out there listening, because we're streaming on YouTube, LinkedIn, and my personal Twitter account, which I don't use that much anymore, and the Kabila Twitter account. So if you're out there in the sound of my voice, just if you want to if you have a question for Dalton, please drop it in the comments, and we'll do our best to answer all the questions. Also, let us know where you're coming in from. I see Ruby's in Baltimore. What's going on, Ruby? So look, I just want to back up a little bit because Kabila is a Hatchet Ventures portfolio company. We met you and Josh when we were in Techstars Austin, and immediately, actually, I got connected to you through,
Paul.
Yes, Paul, my man Paul, yes, through Paul. We were like, there's a lot of alignment here, as Overlook founders ourselves, myself and Caleb. It's hard. And, so we went through Techstars. We have the Techstars network, which is great. And, it's still like lonely out here as a founder. And especially like as an overlooked or underestimated founder, we don't have the networks to get us the resources and information we need so we can change the trajectory of our startups. And so we are a portfolio company of Hatchet, and I'm super, super thankful to be that. So Sneha is in here from New York. Sneha is always all over the world. Last time I think you're in India, Sneha. Good to see you, Sneha. But it's like, imagine if you were lucky enough to find an advisor, right? That particular advisor probably specializes in one, maybe two or three things, right? Maybe a couple things they can add value to when they have time. And, if it's within their wheelhouse. What's amazing about Hatchet for us is we meet every week. Let me show you something. I'm going to see if hopefully this doesn't look too crazy, but I want to show you something. So we have our lead advisor, Abby Williams. So the way it works is you get a lead advisor that you meet with regularly. We meet with Abby every 2 weeks. Here's a picture of Abby. Look at that, just overlay there. Badass. She's just a freaking boss, right? That's Abby. And we meet with her every 2 weeks, and we tell her what our problems and challenges are. And if it's outside of her specialty, if it's within her wheelhouse, she will help us with it. If it's not, she will go back to the Hatchet Network. It's like all these advisors who are successful in their own right, who raise millions of dollars as entrepreneurs, who are operators, and the CMO of Crunchbase is in there. I reached out to her when we did our Overlook Founder event. That's that flyer that you just see right there. We had an event for Overlook Founders, and she gave Crunchbase Pro subscriptions to everybody who attended our event. I mean, so that's just one thing. Like we're having issues now. We got to find people to help with product management. We have 2 people we already met with in the Hatchet Advisory Network, very experienced, who are leaning in to help us with some stuff. Like one guy, and this is not normal, they don't always do this, but there's one guy who's like, yeah, I'll tap in for a couple of weeks or whatever just to get y'all started for free. What? I mean, these guys have worked at massive, like one guy who's like the go-to-market in product management at Microsoft.
Yeah.
So this is the extent of the quality. So Dalton, you're very humble in the way you described all that, but honestly, I don't think it really explains the gravity and the magnitude of what y'all do. And I'm telling you, because every time we have a need, we ping Dalton. I don't know if you guys saw, we just got featured in Afrotech last week. How did that happen? Because those guys have a relationship with some folks over there. Sent an email. He was game to connect. I reached out. He put me in touch with somebody who put me in touch with somebody who wrote a dope article about us.
Yes,
right?
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, I think that one of the biggest things, like I saw an interesting stat the other day, is 90% of advisors do absolutely nothing. 5% of advisors add value, and 5% actually are detractors. And so when Kendrick and I were building Us in Technology and kind of building out our advisory board, and actually I've advised about 12 different companies before, starting Hatchet, but we just feel the advisory model is broken for founders. To go and find true operators who can help you with problems. And then to your point, if they can continue to help you and add value, the likelihood is usually pretty low. But the hard part is these people are on your cap table for the rest of your company's existence. And it becomes almost a whole management and managing these advisors and trying to extract value. So the model, you're spot on. Like, the way it works is, instead of having one or two advisors or going and finding an advisory board, you just have Hatchet. We have in this initial cohort, we have 63 of the globe's top operators. These are CFOs, CPAs, CMOs. We have the former CIO of Uber, Splunk, and Zynga, the former CIO of Gap. We have CISOs, lawyers, doctors, whatever you're going to need.
It's nuts. It's like, I don't think people understand. People ain't picking up what y'all are putting down, but they're going to learn though. Right. But if you are an overlooked founder out in these startup streets, you need to get connected to Hatchet Ventures. That's not hyperbolic for me to say that. Like, they need to, because you cannot get all the things done by yourself. I mean, hell, you guys sponsored our event. That's not what you do, but you did. Anyway, so let me get back to some of these comments here. What's up, Jetty P? Ruby has a question here. See, that's impressive. Most VPs should operate like that, right? Do you feel this helps the founders succeed and scale at a higher rate than other VCs? So to be clear, before you answer that question, Dalton, Hatchet Ventures is not a venture capital firm. It's an advisory consortium. Take it away, sir.
So Hatchet, kind of the model that we felt, we're founders, so we're operators. We've all built businesses before and had a lot of successful exits. I think in the group combined, we're at 100 plus exits. We've raised over 10 billion in VC funding and capital. It really, at the end of the day, we know how hard it is. A lot of our advisors have had successful exits. They don't really need to be out there working, but they really appreciate and understand how hard the founder's journey is, and especially how hard it is if you're overlooked or an underestimated founder. And so our model really, we're really on the founder side, and so we take a little bit of equity. We don't invest capital. We take a little bit of advisory equity, up to 2% in the companies we work with, just depending on the stage of the company. And what the engagement's going to look like. But really, our kind of model, we don't take any more than 2%. That's vested over a 2-year period. But really, what we're trying to alleviate here is helping founders stay in front of things. So if you have really strong operators that can help you navigate challenges, think about scale, think about how to get out of that founder-led growth model, what's the next challenge going to look like? Obviously, leveraging our social capital to introduce you to potential customers.
Can you put a pin in that right there? Oh man, can you say that again? Leveraging, let's say, I'm gonna repeat it. Leveraging their social capital. Right? That is freaking amazing. So many people are so stingy with their social capital. They're real stingy. But y'all do it. Anytime I see you connected to whoever, bam, I just drop it in the Slack, or I ping you in the Kabila community, and the email is sent, or just like, send me a forwardable email. Done. Right?
Yeah, and I think that one of the reasons that we're able to do that is the mission we're on, and helping overlooked founders and underestimated founders, that everyone's really tied to this mission and really passionate about it. But also our model, all of the advisors that we're a cohort-based model. So in this initial cohort, we are wrapping up cohort 1. We have 20 companies, and in those 20 companies, each one of our advisors, so the 63 advisors I mentioned, has a little bit of equity stake in each of the companies. And so it incentivizes them to really help. And it's better from an advising standpoint. So as an advisor, as someone who's helped build lots of different companies, usually you're putting your eggs in one basket. You're spending 10 to 15 hours with one company. But good builders and good problem solvers, what do we like to do? We like to build and see lots of problems. And so in this model, they're actually getting access to a lot more companies and working. But that 5 to 10 hours they spend advising on a monthly basis is shared with a lot of other operators. So you don't feel like you have to carry the load, because when you have built a business, especially if you're an operator and a founder, when you advise, you're doing, like, the good advisors, that small 5% of that are out there, are doing a lot of the heavy lifting. And so in this model, if you work together, it makes a lot more, it just helps, it makes a lot more sense from the advising side. So that's why our advisors are so excited to work and help, is they have a small equity amount in each of the companies they work with. They obviously want to help with this mission. They understand the journey and how hard it is. But in that model, you're going to just find that people are going to help you. We've kind of qualified the folks, really found the best builders, people who are incentivized, or people who wake up every morning and just naturally want to help without incentivization, but also because they are part of this, greater group. We're really, going after this mission on how do we help underestimated founders build more sustainable businesses and retain more ownership of their companies, because you're going to need that equity later as you continue to build. That's your biggest asset that you have. And we don't want to take capital up front. We don't want to take any of your money up front, because that's also the biggest asset that you have to build. So helping you kind of through that journey is our mission.
Yeah, 100%. So what's going on, Sheila? Dana said, my energy is about this experience is making her so excited. And Sheila said, ditto. Kimberly, what's going on, Kimberly? Kimberly's actually building something interesting. Villie said, VILLIE.co, Kimberly, is for new and expectant mothers, I think. If you drop that in the comments, Kimberly, I'll definitely put that up on the screen. And so he said, Ruby said, it's impressive. Thanks so much, Dalton and James. This is such an innovative solution for founders. Access can be better than capital. This is a game changer. Yeah, I agree. Access can be better than capital sometimes, and it also leads to capital. So I agree.
Yeah, I would say too that, having, when it comes to the venture capital model, a lot of investors are looking to de-risk their investment. And so a challenge with that is a lot of first-time founders. You're naturally, when Kendrick and I were building, we were first-time founders, and that's a risky investment for a lot of investors. And so surrounding yourself with really good operators, not only helps you navigate the challenges of building a business and helps you save time. Obviously, your resource constraint, you're doing so much already. So helping you avoid common pitfalls is part of it, but also just de-risking. The perception of de-risk, having strong advisors helps you with that. When Kendrick and I were building, even though I'd built lots of successful companies, been through multiple IPOs, still you're encountering new challenges on a daily basis. And so if you have people who have been there and actually successfully built a business from ground up, they're always going to have a very interesting perspective that, the world just, there isn't an abundance of those types of people. And so if we can bring those people together to help, underestimated founders and overlooked founders, as I was saying before, we know that if they can retain more wealth, because founders at the end of the day are the ones who generate wealth. Investors just merely invest it and participate
right.
in it.
If it wasn't for us, there would be no investors.
Exactly.
Just
And a lot of founders forget that. And so we want to help those founders, navigate, come from a, when they do go raise capital, they have lots of options. They come from a stance of, negotiation power and options versus a place of scarcity, which is often what happens.
Right. So here's a question. So when do cohorts start throughout the year? And when do cohorts, that's a repetition here. When do cohorts start throughout the year? And so what happens? So you're in a cohort, so how does that work for the founders, if you could explain that? So we meet with Abby every other week. Does that last indefinitely? Is that just on a cohort by cohort basis? How does that work?
Yeah. So our goal with the companies that we're working with are to broker strong long-term strategic relationships. We want to know you now. We want to know you 7 years from now, and you're
Yeah.
making your first acquisition of a company and helping you through that process. That's truly what it means to be an advisor and actually help companies build. And so for us, our cohort basis is more just, hey, we're going to take this group of, in this initial cohort, there's 63 advisors. They pool in the equity across all of the 20 companies that we're working with. We're about to release cohort 2. So we're getting ready for that process. We learned a lot in cohort 1. We're a startup as well. This model is definitely, it's new, it's unique, it's different. So we're learning a lot about our business too. But what we found, the model, to your point, is like we have an engagement captain. So an engagement captain will meet with, like Abby is Kabila's engagement captain, for example, and she'll meet with you. And really, the reason we do that is we don't want our portfolio founders to have to navigate our resources, because there are a lot of people. The likelihood of you meeting all 63 people
is unlikely.
Is unlikely.
It's unlikely. So how long does the engagement captain meet with the founders? Over what duration?
Yeah, it's an indefinite amount of time. I mean, I think as companies build and as your needs kind of change and you navigate the different phases, of course, it doesn't make sense necessarily to meet every single week, and we kind of take that depending on where the company is. But that's what advising is like. A lot of advising is you'll meet with a company, maybe a couple times in 1 week, and then you won't hear from them.
No, that's true. So we used to meet weekly with Abby. Now we were on a bi-weekly schedule. Like, look, shout out to Abby. Hold on, let me get my Abby picture up here again. Abby's just badass, man. She used to live in Ireland. Now they just moved to Malaga, Spain, which is just amazing. I actually been to Malaga. I was there doing Semana Santa, which is a sight to behold if you've never been there. But Abby's incredible, and she's a chief revenue officer. We talk with Abby about go-to-market, working through my financial model. Like, she is amazing, man. Really, really. I just freaking love me some Abs, bro.
Yeah, and the cool thing too is, like, Abby is obviously a force in herself, but Abby knows that we have this pool of kind of more generalist advisors that have very specific skill sets, and so Abby has access to those generalist advisors and will pull them in as a need be basis. And a great example is when you and Caleb were talking about the product side. We have, a lot of chief product officers, a lot of CTOs, a lot of CIOs that we can pull from. And so the nice part for founders is you're navigating one relationship with Abby, but you have this pool of other advisors that can come in. And they don't, those people are not going to live on your cap table. If you meet with them once or twice and they help you through one problem,
so good.
They're not going to live on your cap table for the rest of your existence.
Yep. We have our meeting with the product manager guys on next Tuesday, and I'm so excited because our next hire needs to be a product manager. Even if we go with like a fractional product management person, we found an organization that does that. But to be able to have somebody we can just get going with that is super invaluable. So a couple more questions here. If everybody else has any questions, please drop them. I want to get your questions. We're done in 5 or 6 minutes here. One more question.
I know Andre had a question around cohorts. When do they start? We're about to start cohort 2. Our goal is to get to more of like a quarterly, maybe eventually a monthly basis. But right now we're really, we're a startup too. We're really learning about what works and what doesn't, and making sure that we kind of perfect this model before we scale too fast. But yeah, that's kind of
how many people you think you're going to take in the next cohort?
Yeah, so we found that 20 is a really good number. Obviously, we have a community. We're a community that we're building. We're bringing investors, founders, advisors, operators, like everyone together. A lot like Kabila, right? And what our goal is part of the value prop of Hatchet is not only connecting with the operators, but the other founders as well. Having that aspect of the cohort is really nice when accelerators and incubators do that. So we found that having that group of 20 companies, of course, you can, we're building this community where you can connect with all the other founders, but having that group go through the same process and work with the same team, there's a lot of value you can extract in seeing how other companies, verticals are building.
100%. So if you guys are listening, can you please share this on your, so whatever social media platform you're watching this on, can you please just hit the like and or share button for us, please? All right. So we got a couple questions here. So Jeanette wants to know, what are the next steps exactly?
Yeah, if you want to connect, there's an intake form I can kind of pull up here. But if you want to connect with me, my email is just dalton@hatchetventures.com. We're advisors, so just like any other advisor that you want to build, we have to get to know each other. We're not as there's not as a formal process as what I would call a like an accelerator and incubator. We found that building trust, getting to know each other, like really understanding the problem and taking that time is the best way to work. So if you want to ping for next steps, if you want to ping us, send us some information about your company, we can get on a call and talk through what is that, what does growth mean for your business? Like where are you today?
Can we stop right there for a second, Dalton? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You said something super important right there. And this is what is exciting for me, but it's also frustrating for me as an overlooked founder. You said the most important thing. You have to build relationships, and that's exciting for me. And bringing you to these people is exciting. But what's frustrating is, as overlooked founders, we're always like, oh, nobody cares, but we don't show up, right? There should be 1,000 overlooked founders watching this conversation right now, right? But where are we? Like, I say it all the time, investors and Hatchet Ventures, they invest their time and their resources in lines, not dots. You don't just walk up off the street and get a check from an investor. You're not just going to roll up to Hatchet Ventures if they only have a spot for 20 people and get into the next cohort. You got to show up to events like this, follow up with Dalton. Here's his email address, dalton@hatchetventures.com, right? If you join our Kabila community, let me put this tag. So if you go to, if you go on Twitter at joinkabila.com or join Kabila, here's our website, joinkabila.com, go to community tab, join our community. It's free. Dalton, you give me the intake form. I will post it in there, and Dalton's in our Kabila community, right? Mm-hmm. Reach out to him. If there was something that he said to you that was compelling during this conversation, tell him about it. Right? Tell him why you think this is a good fit, so that the next time he hears from you or sees your company or sees your applications, go, oh yeah, all right, I know Ruby, right? I met Kimberly on that conversation with James on July 26th. So like, folks from overlooked founders, like we have got to do better from the standpoint of showing up to the places and spaces that matter. Look, I know it's hard to do because there's so much smoke. Right? How do you manage the startup ecosystem? Actually, I'm spinning my podcast back up, Dalton, Parents Making Profits. And one of the episodes we're going to do is we're going to talk about startup ecosystem burnout, right? Because there's all these things, accelerators and this and that, and all the communities, and founders go to these things and they spend their time, but they're not getting any real ROI out of it. So I get, but you got to figure out, like, if you're paying attention to what we're doing here, it's not smoke, it's fire. Right, we're not playing around. We're connecting you to the people like Dalton and David Cohn, Techstars co-founder, and all these MDs from all these various accelerator programs. So find the people who are your tribe and tap in and go deep. That's just my advice. And we got 4 comments. You got a comment before we roll out here?
Yeah, I saw that there was a question around like recommendations around remaining resilient. Like, one of the things that I'm seeing in the market to kind of help underestimated founders and overlooked founders is, the best, I'll always tell you as an operator, the best form of investments from your customers. Trying to build it, really at the end of the day, what investors are looking to invest in is a business. A business is a scalable, repeatable, monetized process. There's a new S in there now too, sustainable. So if you can show that you're building a scalable, repeatable, sustainable, monetized process, that's really what investors are looking to invest in. If it's not that, it's an idea. Investors don't want to invest in an idea; they want to invest in a business, and that's okay. If you're not there yet, that's okay. The way to navigate that is to be around people who've built businesses before and understand that, but also show, like, don't tell, show, proof and facts and data show your investment that, hey, you're talking to your customers. We found these, these insights and these things are going to show them how you're going to get to a scalable, repeatable, sustainable, monetized process. And so for the overlooked founders and underestimated founders out there really navigating in the investor world today, think about showing that proof of that and where you've invested your time and efforts into your customers to really understand that. If you can show that, you're going to have a much higher success rate in getting someone to invest in your business.
100%. So Jeanette says it is Dalton Van Hatchet, but it's Hatchet Ventures.
Yeah. So the name behind Hatchet is really like hatching your idea, but also growth hack. So we want to help people with have an option to really hack it and growth hack. So that's where we came up with the name Hatchet Ventures.
All right. So folks can follow you on Twitter at Hatchet Ventures, right? They can email you here. You can connect with me on Threads. I'm at TrepDad. I'm not really on Twitter so much anymore. You can follow Kabila on Twitter. But look, man, join our community. Like we do these things all the time. It's going to be pretty soon here where these are going to be exclusive conversations only for members in our community. Like we're doing this now to open it up to expand the net, but eventually I'm shutting it off. It's just going to be for people who are in our Kabila community. So tap in, join Kabila.com, join our community. I don't know if you saw that article I posted the other day, Dalton, about our relationship with Wiggin and Dana, the law firm. They just did an article of organizations that they're partnering with, and we were at the top of the list of feature. Wiggin and Dana is a law firm. Every month, we open it up for 5 members of our community: minority, BIPOC, women, LGBTQIA plus founders, overlooked founders, to get free business legal services from a national law firm. All you got to do is meet those criteria and not be able to afford it. Like they're doing all our trademark work for us for free.
Yes. And those types of resources, especially at the beginning when you're getting your business off the ground, are essential.
Bro. Again, you got to tap in. Like, I know there's a lot of smoke, but this is not smoke, it's fire. Like, join our community. We're doing dope things in there, right? So that's it. We're out of time. I know you probably got a hot buddy. Did you have one last thing you wanted to say? Did we miss anything?
Excited, happy to help where we can. And, please reach out, connect with us. We're going to be here building. We like to build. We're built to build. And, would love the opportunity to learn about your businesses and what you're doing. And we're a give first mentality. So no matter what, even if it doesn't make sense or Hatchet's not the right fit, we'll always try to help any, overlooked or underestimated founder where we can. So I appreciate your time today. I love what Kabila's doing. And let's grow, baby.
Let's grow, baby. So Sheila says, thank you. Thanks, guys. Thank you for this session. Yeah, man. So I'm just going to play this outro video. Hang on for 1 second for me, Dalton. I'm going to play this and we're going to roll out. Hang on 1 second, okay? Thanks, everybody, for tapping in. We'll see you next time. Oh, next week on Monday, we got Samantha Deriska, who is the journalist from Afrotech, who wrote the article about us. Again, you can't just email Samantha Deriska at Afrotech and be like, oh, can you please feature my startup? We're so dope. That's not how that works, right? So join our community, show up to the conversation on Monday with Samantha, build a relationship with her, right? And then that will increase your chances of her caring about what you're doing and writing a story. Man, I get on these soapboxes, bro. Let me get off my soapbox. Let me just go and play this little video and let's get out of here. Hang on a second, buddy.
Thanks, everyone.